Hey everyone. In this video, I want to discuss the fear of ending up alone. I've noticed as I've gotten older, this has been something that creeps up in my mind a bit more often than before. But the interesting thing here is I don't really have so much a fear of ending up alone in the end. Like, I do believe I'll end up having relationships and whatnot, meeting women, going on dates. My fear more so is being able to find one worthy of creating the life I desire with. Because I have met so many women, I've gone on a ton of dates, and there are so few of these women that stand out to me, so few of them that have clearly taken time to work on themselves. Like, the average woman that I encounter, she's basic, for lack of a better word. She does not work on herself. And with that, she's not all of that appealing to me, because I want to find a great woman, a woman who consciously decides to become a better person over time. And I want to find that woman and start a family with her. Like, that is my goal, is to start a family of my own. And my fear is that now I'm 29 years old, and I can count on probably one hand, maybe two, how many women I've met who I would actually consider starting a family with. Like, that's how rare these women are. And that scares the crap out of me. I'll be honest, it scares me, because it makes me think, am I going to be able to find a woman who meets this criteria before I'm considered too old to do this goal that I have, this dream of mine? Because I really do want to start a family, but I'm getting up there in age. I mean, my goal originally was to start a family by 35, and now that's only 6 years away. That's not that long of a period of time. And I find myself thinking, what are the odds of me encountering a woman like this within the next 6 years? But then beyond that, then of course I have to court her and everything, and she has to be on the same page about having kids and whatnot, and there's just so many things that go into this that it makes me think the odds of this happening are pretty low, and that is not a thought that makes me happy. So I guess my fear isn't really one of ending up alone. It's more a fear of not being able to accomplish this dream in time of starting a family by 35, when I would like to. It's a fear of not being able to find the right woman within that time frame. But I do realize that nowadays what I'm going through is probably something that a lot of people who work on themselves feel as well, where we are taking the time to strive to become better human beings, but not many other people seem to do this. So inevitably, it's going to make dating less of a pleasant experience for us. We're going to feel more alone while dating because so few people work on themselves. So naturally, if we continue to want to find other people who do that as well, that's naturally going to make us have slightly higher standards than most people, which means if we stick to those standards and we don't lie to ourselves, we're probably not going to end up in many relationships. And it's solely because of the fact that so few people work on themselves. So most of the people we encounter, even if there is some form of chemistry there, they may not be all that great of a fit for you because they probably don't consciously strive to become a better person over time. And if you're on that journey, it's very difficult to settle for someone who isn't as well. Incredibly difficult. You run the risk of outgrowing them. And outgrowing someone would certainly be something that would end to the relationship ending. And if you were to try to make things work with someone who doesn't focus on self-growth, you'll probably build up resentment towards them over time, because they may not learn from past mistakes. They may not do things in the relationship to try to help it stand the test of time. Like little things like not or fighting with you rather than trying to solve a problem, tackling it as a team. There are so many people out there who are unevolved, and when they get mad, they immediately take their emotions out on the people around them instead of taking a few deep breaths and realizing, hey, I like that other person that I'm in this relationship with so much that I'm not going to let these temporary emotions come between us. But you need to be mature to think that way, and so many people aren't. So I know that it's difficult for people to work on themselves to date nowadays. And with that, I imagine a lot of us are having that fear of ending up alone or not being able to meet our relationship goals in time, because the odds of meeting someone who are also working on themselves, it's just so low. Like, it's unfortunate that the world has gotten to this point. It really is. I mean, I feel grateful that my parents raised me in the way that they did. Like, they weren't perfect by any means, but they did a good enough job that I was able to then fill in the gaps and kind of work on myself. I had a good starting point, a good baseline to even be able to do this. If my parents were absolutely horrible and had screwed me over and given me all sorts of trauma and insecurities, and I'm not saying I don't have any of those things, but they did a good job to mitigate most of the common things that a lot of people end up with. But if they hadn't raised me in that way, I've thought about that. Like, I would just be like everyone else, like everyone else out there who's unevolved, not working on themselves, just going through the motions, taking for granted this life, and being basically asleep the entire time. And while life can be a bit easier for them simply because they're not aware of a lot of these issues, and I wouldn't say dating would be a pleasant experience for them per se, but they're not going to have as difficult a time to find partners for them because they're going to go after other average people, and they're everywhere. But for those of us who work on ourselves, we immediately have a smaller pool to pull from, and that does make it so I wonder how many of us have that fear of ending up alone, of not being able to find someone who will actually meet our criteria. Because in this case, it's not a lack of being able to find someone. I mean, you can go out there and find average people everywhere. Like, I imagine that I could go anywhere I would like in the city, lower my standards to hell, and I could probably get a girlfriend by today if I wanted. But she wouldn't be great for me. I pretty much know that. It wouldn't be a good situation. I have standards high enough to not do that, because I understand that would be a dumb move. So I wager a lot of us who work on ourselves, we're basically single by choice, because we can't find people who we'd actually want to get into a relationship with. And that's actually a good thing. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is bad at all. What I'm more so saying is a bad thing is that the dating pool has so much piss and shite in it that we can't find other people who also work on themselves. Like, working on yourself is something everyone should do. But clearly that's not the case. And that's what makes it so unfortunate for those of us who are on this journey. And it is the right journey, as I already said, so don't feel bad about this. It just sucks how it makes our dating pool so tiny compared to before. But knowing that, still maintain your standards. Like, I don't think it's worthwhile to lower them and get into a relationship with some average person just to have one, to not be alone in the world. But that person could seriously mess you up. I've talked in prior videos about how if you go about dating unconsciously, like, it can really mess you up in the long run. People can demolish your self-esteem. They can bring up all sorts of insecurities in you. They can inflict trauma in your life. You just don't want to get with average people who aren't working on themselves, because there's so many issues they can create because of the fact that they're unevolved. People who work on themselves usually will find ways to circumvent a lot of these issues, or straight up get rid of them, the possibility of them, completely. So even if you have that fear of ending up alone, I would say it's better to be alone than to be in the wrong relationship. So keep working on yourself, keep having those high standards. And if you do end up getting unlucky and not being able to find someone else who's also working on themselves, just stay single. Hold the line and keep living in the best way possible for yourself, and finding ways to be happy on your own. I just don't think it's worthwhile to lower your standards and settle. Like, that's not a good thing. I'm sure you'll have a relationship, but will it be great? I would think it'd be better to date average people for fun and not get into a relationship with them than to get into a relationship with one just to have a relationship. So that's the way I would go through life. But anyway, those are pretty much my thoughts on this topic. So I'm curious what you guys have to say about this, especially since I imagine many of you who have been following my videos for a while, you are on that journey of working on yourself. So I'm curious, do you have this fear? Is this something that speaks to you, that resonates with you? Because yeah, I've certainly felt it in my own life, and it's one of the reasons I want to get out of LA more, because I feel like this is such a superficial area that even though there are more people, so statistically speaking, there should be more people who work on themselves. It's just, by my experience, it's so hard to find them that I'd rather go somewhere that has a higher likelihood of people just being kinder and more caring and wanting a family and being loyal in relationships, not constantly being selfish and only going after what they want in life, even if that means cheating on their partner and screwing them over. And yeah, so I need to go to a place that just has better values for people, and that's not a big city. Definitely not a big city. But yeah, definitely let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. This is pretty much all I have for you. I truly hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like content like this, be sure to subscribe for more. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like on it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci!